It's time to return to the papers now. Here with us to review the papers all morning have been the broadcaster Afua Hagen and the journalist Thomas Copeland, and I'm pleased to see they're back again with us. And we're going to kick off, aren't we, this hour, delving inside once again, Thomas, this time into the Daily Mail. And there's a piece here written by Andrew Neil about the raid on the former President Trump's home in Florida. So what's his take on it?
It's a slightly unusual op-ed this morning, actually, and I half suspect the headline has been written separately to the article. So you've set up the context there. Raids on Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago pad earlier on in the week that's really convulsed the American public and the American media. There was revelations in the last couple of days that Donald Trump was being investigated under the Espionage Act. Then the search warrant under which he was investigated was released, and it revealed that there were documents, including top secret classified documents, all the way up to the most classified category of documentation in the American federal system is called an SCI document, sensitive compartment information, and a number of those documents were also found by the FBI under search warrants given by Merrick Garland. So Andrew Neil's responding to this. I mean, his overarching argument is one of saying that somehow America is less free on the basis of this taking place. He does quite a good job, actually, of outlining quite a lot of the Republican talking points on this issue, which is the factual basis for some of the suspicion, the underlying suspicion of the FBI. He talks about stuff like the Robert Mueller report that didn't come to much, the Steele dossier that didn't come to much either. I suppose the danger there, though, is that it starts to feed into the kind of narrative that allows for some of the conspiracy theories that you're already starting to be voiced by major voices in the Republican Party this week. Marco Rubio, Rand Paul on air talking about how they believe that there's a possibility that the FBI will have planted evidence on Donald Trump, notwithstanding the fact that Donald Trump himself has said that all of the documentation that was taken away was stuff that he had declassified himself. Only one of those two things can be true, and yet that convergence, I suppose, will never be met. The other interesting thing that Andrew Neil actually begins the article with that I think is worthy of a lot of consideration is when he talks about how this is sort of oxygen, and oxygen is what Donald Trump has thrived on since day one. There probably is a really strong argument to say that if Donald Trump wanted to grasp this moment, very much setting himself against the FBI, against Joe Biden, against Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, against what he calls that sort of civil the federal bureaucracy, what he might call the deep state. If he grabs hold of that and galvanizes his supporters behind this moment, there's a real chance that this is the moment of momentum for projecting him to becoming the Republican nominee for the 2024 general election. I suspect that if he politically decides, listen, I'm going to make a really big deal of this issue, I would have no doubt in saying that he's certainly the person on the Republican Party at the moment who has the most support, and if he sees this moment, that could be really significant for the years to come.
Yeah, really interesting to see how it plays out. Let's return to this country, Afua, with the next story, because inside the Daily Mirror, a story about strike breaking. There's a new law in place, isn't there, that's been introduced. They're suggesting that Harrods may take advantage of it.
So Harrods have about 150 workers, mainly in services, engineering and security, who are represented by the Unite Union, and the Unite Union, are proposing strike action later on this month. Now, Harrods has said because of this new law that is coming that allows companies to take on lower paid agency workers to fill the roles of those people who may be on strike, they have said that they are thinking about potentially taking on these agency workers to fill in those people's roles. So if those 150 service, maintenance and security personnel go on strike, then the roles will be filled by these temporary workers. Now, the Unite Union have said that Harrods' attempt to use this new legislation to bully our members doesn't change a thing, and that their members will go on strike anyway. Now, this legislation, like we said, is brand new. It was brought in last month by the government because of the rolling strikes which are happening across the railways, across places like Harrods as well. Tube strikes have been going on throughout the summer. And this, like I said, enables companies to be able to take on these lower paid workers. But it's a very difficult position because you have these people who have been given a pay offer. The pay offer they've been given is about a 5% increase. But that doesn't really mean anything in a time where inflation is like sort of 9-10%. It's predicted to go up to 13% later on this year. So their pay increase won't really do anything. And in a time where people are finding it difficult to make ends meet, they want more money. And the way to do that is to galvanize support together and strike. So essentially, this is kind of, in a way, saying to people that, look, if you strike, we can just replace you with lower paid workers. They're temporary workers. We hope they don't become permanent. But it makes people worry about going on strike and worry about their jobs, and also encroaches on the right for people to galvanize together and strike if they need better pay and condition.
Yeah, I don't know whether the replacement workers would be paid less or not. It doesn't actually say that here. And Harrods have put out a statement that's quoted by the Mirror about the payoff, haven't they? They talk about undertaking rigorous and regular benchmarking to ensure all colleagues are paid competitively. And they go on to say they're unable to award payments to all impacted colleagues until pay negotiations have concluded. So that's what they have to say about it. But this is an issue going across a lot of industries at the moment, aren't they, with inflation so high. I'm going to clip on a pace to the next story, if that's all right with you, Thomas, and go to The Guardian. And this was an interview that Boris Johnson gave yesterday, and it followed remarks that Rishi Sunak had made during one of the hustings this week. I think it was the Telegraph's hustings in Cheltenham. And Rishi Sunak had said that he'd reached out to Boris Johnson, but he wasn't picking up. He was being ghosted by Boris Johnson. So how's The Guardian treat this?
Yeah, I love this story because, it's just such a classic bar. Get ready to not hear too many of these type of quotes anymore. So you said it all there. Rishi Sunak has said he tried to reach out to Boris Johnson. He believed that Boris Johnson was refusing to take his calls. Boris Johnson was asked about this, and he gave an answer that, I'll just read out the full thing. He said, "That's one of those Westminster questions that doesn't change the price of fish. There are plenty of things that do change the price of fish, not least the price of energy, but that's not one of them." Which is a wonderful line, but also doesn't deny the fact that he has been avoiding Rishi Sunak's calls. It sort of ties in with something I was reflecting on earlier. This article seems to pick up on a little bit of a change of tone that I've noticed over the summer, over this Conservative leadership campaign. There was a time when Rishi Sunak might have even been lionised for his role in bringing down Boris Johnson. And Nadine Dorris called it a coup, but a great many others in the Conservative Party were supporting it. And we forget, of course, now that there was a huge ministerial resignations of nearly 30, just over 30 ministers all in one go, and that brought down Boris Johnson. He was doing badly in the ratings in terms of Conservative Party members as well. Now over the summer, what you've had is a very fierce election campaign from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 that has exposed huge rifts within the party. You've got people like Robert Buckland today switching sides between the two. I suspect that there's probably a not insignificant part of the membership and of the Tory MPs that are now looking at themselves and saying, quite what have we done? When Rishi Sunak said Boris Johnson was refusing to take his calls, he might have even thought to himself, well, this will go down well with the membership and the Tory MPs. They want Boris Johnson out. Yeah. I'm not so sure
we're out of time.
Enthusiasm has stayed.
Yeah, so sorry, Thomas. Got to end it there. But good to see you both this morning. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.